The first law of the 48 laws of power is never outshine the master. This law is based on the principle that it is important to know your place in any hierarchy and to always respect those in positions of power over you. The reasoning behind this law is that if you are too successful or too talented, you may end up threatening the position of your superior, which can lead to envy, resentment, and ultimately, your downfall. The first key to understanding this law is to recognize that it is not necessarily about being subservient or submissive. Rather, it is about being strategic and recognizing the dynamics of power in any given situation. One of the central ideas behind this law is the concept of the alpha dog. In many social groups, there is one individual who is recognized as the leader or top dog. This person has a certain amount of power and influence, and others in the group respect and defer to them. If you are trying to establish yourself in a new social group or organization, it is important to recognize who the alpha dog is and to avoid challenging them directly. This does not mean that you should not strive for success or excellence in your work, but rather that you should be mindful of how your success may be perceived by those above you. One common example of this law in action is in the workplace. If you are a new employee and you are very talented, it may be tempting to try to make a big impression right away by taking on high-profile projects or making bold suggestions. However, if you do this too quickly and too aggressively, you may end up stepping on the toes of your boss or other senior colleagues. This can lead to resentment and pushback, which can ultimately harm your career prospects. Instead, it is often better to start small and build up your reputation gradually. Focus on doing your job well, building relationships with your colleagues, and showing respect for those in positions of authority. Another key aspect of this law is the idea of discretion. If you do end up achieving a great deal of success or recognition, it is important to be careful about how you flaunt it. If you are constantly boasting about your accomplishments or trying to one-up your superiors, you may come across as arrogant or disrespectful. This can lead to others feeling threatened or resentful, which can harm your relationships and your standing in the group. Instead, it is often better to be modest and humble, even if you are achieving a great deal of success. This does not mean that you should downplay your accomplishments or hide your light under a bushel, but rather that you should be mindful of how your behavior and attitudes may be perceived by others. One final aspect of this law is the idea of loyalty. If you are in a position of subordinate, it is important to show loyalty to your superiors, even if you may disagree with them on certain issues. This does not mean that you should blindly follow their every command or never offer constructive criticism, but rather that you should be respectful and deferential in your interactions with them. This can help to establish trust and build positive relationships, which can be valuable in the long run. Overall, the first law of the 48 laws of power is a reminder to always be mindful of power dynamics and to respect those in positions of authority over you. By understanding and following this law, you can avoid unnecessary conflict, build positive relationships, and ultimately achieve greater success in your personal and professional life.